Just got to have a great interview with Brett Conti, lifestyle YouTuber and influencer. What I loved about this conversation is he really loves what he does. In fact, I asked him if YouTube wasn't around, what would you do? And he said he'd probably still make videos, which means you probably should be doing it. So do what you love, follow your passion, and don't be afraid to experiment. So many things I want to talk to you about. So,
Are we jumping right into it?
Yeah, this is it.
All right, let's do this.
This isn't like an official thing. Brett, welcome. Welcome to the studio. Did you know this place when it was the coffee shop?
Yeah.
This location, the small one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been a fan of Laughing Man since you guys opened.
Oh, I didn't realize you actually knew us that long.
Yeah. My ex-girlfriend used to live here in Tribeca.
God.
So this was like our go-to spot every day, pretty much. Would walk her dog.
Oh, that's cool.
Come here. So yeah, I remember like the little coffee shop to go right here.
And now pivot.
And now we're going. I've never thought I'd be doing a podcast in that space.
I didn't either, but it called for it. There's something magic about this space. And when we moved next door, I just said, this is the studio. It's something creative. Now we just got to use like creative and content. So it's a whole new world for me. But
yeah.
So I met you, but I didn't know a lot about your background actually. And you do so many.
Oh, well, thank
things,
you.
man.
Hey, I remember when we did talk, like,
Yeah.
you know, I've seen you here and there from just
Yeah.
coming to the coffee shop, but I remember when I first met you, we ended up talking for like an hour.
We did.
We had like such great conversations and just
Great.
like connected so instantly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to like go deeper.
Well, there's a lot of similar things. I mean, you do so many different things, entrepreneurial. And so I think just talking about that whole world, we connected
Yeah.
a lot. But let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
Massapequa. Take me back to little Brett. Right around.
Good.
That's where Seinfeld's Massapequa, right?
Yes.
And
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin.
Yep. And Brett Conti.
And Brett Conti. I mean, obviously. Do they know you're from the
They
because
should.
when they get together, they're like, Brett. Brett, he's
Yep.
from Massapequa.
It's the three of me, you know? There's
That's-
three of us.
Other sisters, just you.
I have a sister.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was actually, my parents met here in the city.
Okay.
And then when they split when I was young, my
Yeah.
mom is from Long Island and
Yeah.
went back there. And my dad's like born in the Bronx.
Right.
So,
My dad's from the Bronx. Yeah.
oh, really?
Yeah.
So he's more of the city guy.
Okay.
And then my mom took me to Long Island. So it was always weekdays in Long Island and then weekends in the city. So I kind of had the best of both
That's
worlds where I had this suburb life. I had a place I could learn to ride a bike.
Yeah.
And then I'd come to the city where I'd like grow up so quick and be surrounded by this.
What would you do on the weekends in the city?
I was really big into skateboarding.
Okay.
So I would go to Chelsea Piers all the time
Nice.
because as a kid, that place was like heaven where it was like, I would like skateboard, go bowling. They even had like ice skating
That's
rink.
right. That's right.
So much to do as a little kid. And
Yeah.
it was like this massive space. So,
Did they have a skateboarding area?
so they redid it like
Yeah.
10 years ago
Okay.
to this amazing skate park.
Yeah.
Back when I went, it was like still good for the time, but it
Right.
was like a lot crappier.
Okay.
Yeah, it was all wooden. Now it's concrete
Right.
and like professionally done.
Yeah.
So
They opened
yeah.
a nice one on the pier right down here near
Yeah,
that-
Tribeca. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
nice
also like
park
fairly
there.
new too. That wasn't here when I was a kid. So back then, yeah, it was a lot of just like going to Yankee games, like
Yeah.
kind of like the typical New
great.
York City life
That's
as a little
great.
kid. So it
Where
was
in
really
the Bronx?
cool.
Was he near the stadium?
No, he wasn't from the South Bronx. He was more
Okay.
like the Italian part.
God, okay.
My grandfather came from Italy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So they all moved to the Bronx.
You still have roots back there? I mean, are you
I'm
feel
taking-
connected to that place or?
So stoked for this. I'm taking my dad for my first time. He
Yeah.
took me when I was 19, but back to Italy in like 3 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
So have probably 40 family members still there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Where in Italy?
Northern Italy, like
Okay.
not too far away from Lake Como, Milan.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, you said you had a sibling or no?
Yeah, I have one sister
Yeah.
and we live next door to each other in Manhattan.
Oh, that's amazing. So you guys are super close.
Best friends.
That's same with my sister. Super
Yeah.
cool. Were you always that way? Or no? You went through
Yeah.
the period.
Maybe when we were like 12, like
Yeah,
we
same,
used
same.
to like wrestle or something.
Right.
But ever since we've been at least adults, best friends.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What does she do?
She's a nurse practitioner
Okay.
and then has a 18-month-old daughter, Amelia, that
Right.
I'm the godfather for. So definitely brings a lot of joy to my life
But she lives right next door, so you
Right.
see Amelia a lot then.
every day.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mhm.
Okay, so Massapequa.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then when Massapequa
Yeah.
was during the week, and once I got
From
older,
your childhood, normal sort of
yeah,
childhood, going back and forth, growing up, learning to skateboard.
yeah, I would say towards like high school,
Yeah,
I definitely was a bit of like an outcast where I was friends with everyone,
yeah,
but I wasn't hanging out with everyone.
yeah.
I
You can get along with everybody.
got along with
Yeah,
everyone, would get invited to like all the parties. I
yeah,
think I'm into like one or two in my life, like the typical high school party.
yeah.
Didn't drink.
I was the same way.
Yeah.
I was thinking about my kids, and I don't know why I was sort of daydreaming if I had to explain to them if I was popular. I was thinking about, was I popular during school?
Mhm.
No, why? Because my daughter's sort of going through this. And that's the same thing. I was friends with everybody. I could hang out with every group, you know. I was generally invited everywhere, but I wasn't in it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it was really wasn't my word. I didn't really drink a lot. I didn't
Yeah.
party hard. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. No. And I think for me was so at this point in my life, I'm trying to become a professional skateboarder
Okay.
and I'm like traveling around the country doing
Professional.
contests. So I'm not professional.
But you're trying to be, yeah.
At this point, I'm like having sponsors from like Nike, Zoo York, even like Red Bull, and traveling around, even missing some of high school to go to these contests all around the country.
Yeah.
And when I look back on that time to who I am now, it's funny because I've always been this like do or die trying, like dedicated person. If like I have a mission,
Yeah.
I'll give up at nothing.
Yeah.
And even back then when I'm 15, 16, I was still like that, where that's kind of the reason why I would never really go out, just because I knew my purpose and mission
Right.
and I dedicated my entire life to skateboarding at that
Where
time.
did you catch that excuse me one second. Can we turn the heat down? Or just turn it off? It's like, um, where'd you catch the bug?
I don't know. Like my dad lives a more typical American life of
Yeah.
like interned at IBM and still works there to this day, like 40 years later.
Wow, okay. That's like
And
true blue IBM.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I feel like it's the
yeah.
iconic like baby
Yes.
boomer American dream.
Yeah,
And he's done very well in that world.
yeah,
But for me, I don't know why I've just been like a little bit more crazy and
yeah.
finding my own path. My grandfather was a lot more entrepreneurial, had a textile business and
Okay.
ran that. So I don't know. I think he was with him being always my biggest inspiration, my grandfather.
Yeah,
Maybe I think it was just this like I can create whatever I want
right.
if I just like dedicate my life to it.
Yeah,
So
that's great. And
yeah.
and that sort of drive and work ethic, where'd you get that from? You just born with that, or was that sort of modeled by your parents?
I think I don't want to say per se from my I think my dad
Yeah,
is extremely passionate about the things that he loves.
right.
For him, it's like baseball
Yeah,
and like building like stuff in the house
okay.
where that's his life even to this day. As
Right.
long as I've known him for 32 years, he is always talking about baseball and building bathrooms.
That's great.
So I think I get my passion from him
Right.
of just like when I fall in love with something,
You do it.
it's all I can talk about. It's all that excites me. I can get out of bed so easily early in the morning because I know what makes me feel most alive.
Yeah,
So I guess as far as passion, that comes from him.
okay.
The work ethic maybe lies in between there
That's
too.
cool.
Yeah.
So you take up skateboard, you get into, and now you're trying to go pro and you're getting sponsors and stuff.
Yeah.
How does that happen? How do you
Yeah. I mean, so at the time, like I don't want to toot my own horn,
Yeah.
but I was like in the New York world, like one of the best skateboarders.
Wow, okay.
Not the
Who
best.
was there? What was that the era of? I don't know many, but
Yeah.
who were the stars of the time? I mean, I guess Tony Hawk has always been around, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, like at this time there hadn't been many like pros to come out of New York.
Okay.
Like big
Yeah,
pros.
yeah.
So yeah, like Tony Hawk's obviously like the epitome of like the godfather of skateboarding.
Uh,
But for me, there wasn't like so many people I could like look at their career and be like, I can follow a
Yeah,
little bit of that path. So it's still very new and I'm kind of just figuring out what are the possibilities of making a career here. And
yeah.
of course, it's kind of just how can you get big name sponsors?
Sure.
And it goes pretty well until I decide I wanted to go to college instead of fully going in on skateboarding. And I'm kind of so glad I did because then I got hurt. So I'm like trying to become pro,
Yeah,
also going to college.
yeah.
And I'm 19 and I tear a ligament in my
Oh,
ankle and it puts me out of commission for pretty much a year. And then that's when I start my company Fortune.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. And that was sort of skateboard culture, clothing,
Streetwear,
streetwear,
yeah.
boards as well, or just
So it started off as just clothing that I was making all myself in my college dorm room
okay?
with like fabric I learned about from my grandfather.
Yeah, yeah,
So sewing every item myself, where I would get an order online
yeah.
for a $25 shirt that I would then have to spend 4 or 5 hours to make.
Right.
So I'd be stoked to like get an order to like grow the brand, but I'd also be like, there goes my Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no money in it, but it's a great
Yep, profits were about
yeah,
12
yeah,
bucks.
right, right. So wait, what year was that you started
This
that?
is 2011, 2012.
Okay,
20,
2012.
yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So we started Laughing Man 20. Oh, when did we start Laughing? 2010, the year
Is that when this
my
opened?
daughter was born. Yeah,
Wow. Was it just this one then? Or
it
was
was
it
just this one. Yeah,
okay? And then you got the space
and
next
then we
door.
got yeah.
It was a cheese shop or something?
Well, the whole building used to be a Roquefort cheese factory.
Yeah.
That's the history of the building. But before there's a clothing store and art gallery,
Mm.
and so okay, you're opening that. Did you know what to do? How did you get into? How did you start it?
Yeah.
Website, advertise.
I definitely was always more business mindset. I was definitely a more business mindset person
Right.
compared to a lot of the other people I was surrounding myself with in like especially the skateboarding
Yeah.
world. And I was like, I think I could build a really cool brand here. I think at the time there weren't as many brands like there is today because now there's print on demand. It's so
Right,
easy.
right,
The
right.
barriers to entry are so low to start a clothing company.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just so intrigued by it. I loved sewing.
What were you doing? You doing it was embroidery or like silk screen? What'd
I
you
was
use?
literally using a sewing
Oh,
machine.
really?
And I was getting fabric from the garment district
Yeah.
and would sew clothes. So it was more like it would be like t-shirts with maybe the sleeves I would cut off
Okay.
and then I would sew on a cool fabric that I found and then
Yeah.
like do a pocket on it also. And then I got like little labels made for Fortune and like the logo on it and like kind of branded it that
How'd
way.
you know how to sew and do that? You just
My
figured it out?
grandfather and grandma.
Oh, he actually taught you.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
I learned
Okay.
from there and I was like decent.
Yeah.
And then actually after I graduated from Manhattan College with a finance degree,
Yeah.
I went to FIT for a couple classes
Oh,
on
amazing.
just
Okay.
sewing
That's
to
cool.
try and perfect that.
And did you ever work in finance? For a little bit or not?
I interned for 2 years at
Okay.
Morgan Stanley
All right.
and was
That was before Fortune or after?
I was doing it.
Yeah, at
Yeah.
the same time. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got it.
So if I didn't start Fortune already in college, I probably would have accepted that job because I had nothing else to dedicate my time
Right,
to.
right.
So when the time came of potentially going down that road in finance,
Yeah.
I said no because I knew I wanted to dedicate all my time to the clothing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like if you're in college, it's the best time to start something
Of course.
and learn what you want to do. So I'm so glad I started and didn't tell myself like, oh, wait until after I graduate to focus on it.
Yeah, yeah.
You kind of have to, in the beginning, be doing multiple things at once. And so you kind of can focus on college, but still do
Absolutely. Well,
something
also, if
else.
you're, and we're similar in that way. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, those ideas are gonna come all the time, and you're always doing multiple things. You're always trying to build that or try that or absolutely. And how long did that last? Did the clothing company last?
So after about, well, a funny story about that. What kind of changed I would say my life
Yeah.
actually. I graduated school and I just reverse engineered how I can turn this into a full-time living.
Right.
And there's a chain store here in America called Zoomies,
Yeah.
which is in like every mall. They
Yeah.
have like 3 locations in Manhattan, Brooklyn, all over the
Right.
country. So I was like, I need to get it into Zoomies. I'm 21. How the hell do I do that? So I went to the Union Square store
Nice.
and got a job at the retail store. Again, this is a publicly
That's
traded
great.
company with 750 stores.
Yeah.
They're based in Seattle. Like, I was so naive to think that I'd be able to get it in
Well, like
from,
the idea, like I'm working there. Maybe I.
yeah, like maybe I can meet someone.
Right.
After 2 weeks, the universe just worked out where like one of the buyers was like in town
Yeah.
and just so happened my manager knew about Fortune and was like super cool. His name was Phil. Changed my life. He connected me with that buyer and put in a good
Wow.
word. They tried it out in 5 stores and then the rest was history.
And they picked it up.
So they picked the day that I got the email from the buyer,
Yeah.
I quit and I told them that because they were like, oh, there might be a conflict of interest
Right,
or like,
right.
we don't know if you can even handle an order from us.
Yeah.
So I was like, I told them my evil plan. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh no, I kind of got this job just
know,
to try and meet you guys," and they respected that and like
Wow.
loved it. So got it in. It was in 5 stores, then 10 stores, then 50 stores, then 100 stores, and then the rest was
Unbelievable.
history.
Unbelievable.
And then from there, one of my friends who I knew from when I was competing in skateboarding ended up becoming an X Games medalist and Olympian with skateboarding
Yeah.
and like big time pro, where him and I turned Fortune New York the clothing
Yeah.
into Fortune skateboards.
Got it. Got
And
it.
that kind of catapulted it even further, just because now at this point, like if you were a serious skateboarder, you most likely knew of the brand, which
Whoa.
was pretty cool. And we did collabs with like Jaden Smith. We did like all these, like a whole team. It was like a
So is this
full-on
still around? Is that brand still around?
So in 2021,
Yeah.
right after COVID, my business partner was a little bit too stressed about it. Like we weren't having, it was like we were butting heads a little bit
Okay.
more. Not in a bad way, like still family,
Yeah.
like good friends, but it wasn't working out.
Yeah. You can feel something in the air with shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he wanted to get out. I didn't want to do the skateboards anymore because there's no money in
Okay.
skateboarding.
Okay.
And it hard goods
Right.
because it costs like $22 to make and you sell it to a skate shop for like 26.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Wow. Really.
yeah, it's
What about the clothing though?
the clothing had great margins.
Yeah. Okay.
So I continue to do the clothing.
But that's tough because you gotta, I mean, carry all the various sizes and the inventory, right? Or no?
Not really,
Okay.
because we were doing a lot of our business with retailers.
Yeah.
For example, Zoomies, where they give me a purchase order and I make exactly what they wanted.
Oh God. Okay.
So this kind of like, it's very easy. It's
That's
kind of just
great.
like flipping money. Obviously, it's got to sell in their store. You
Yeah.
have to market it
You didn't have to hold any inventory. You basically made it
No.
when they ordered it.
just for my online store. Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. Okay.
Yeah. So that was fine. But after a year of doing it on myself and
Yeah.
trying to get it back after COVID,
Yeah.
YouTube was doing so well,
Right.
and that whole part of my life just like took off.
Were you slightly dabbling in that while you were?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about.
Because again, so I said like that was like 2021,
Yeah.
2022. At this point, I probably have like 300,000 subscribers on YouTube,
Wow.
making good money.
But what kind of videos were you doing at that point?
It started off in 2017 as like kind of skateboarding around the city
Okay.
vlogs, like
Yeah.
talking about living in my tiny apartment in
Right, right.
Chinatown, like kind of giving advice on entrepreneurship, meeting with cool people. And then it turned into also like a little bit of travel where as soon as I figured out, do you know what a 3PL is?
Yeah. Sure.
Like a third party
Third party
logistic company?
Yeah.
When I figured that out, my mind exploded.
Like somebody else can do this for me?
Yeah, I used to ship thousands of shirts
Yeah.
from my mom's garage. So once I figured out that I can have this third party company warehouse it for a very reasonable rate
Yeah.
and ship it out, I was blown away. Because when
Yeah.
I would travel, I'd have to text my mom the orders and she would have to ship it out for me.
That's awesome.
So huge.
We
shout out
had
to my
that
mom.
with the coffee. So in the space we are now,
Mm-hmm.
for a while it was vacant. So we used it for our e-com, and we had tables from the door to the back. My dad, my sister, my mom, friends just lined up with coffee bag, and you're just boxing, especially during the holidays. The
Yeah.
whole thing was just orders, just boom, box, and then, you could afford a 3PL and all that. But
Yeah.
that's a good memory and a good feeling though.
It
Like
is.
everybody's chipping in on that.
Wait, you
you
just
know?
gave me another memory
Yeah.
that's so funny about Laughing Man. I used to have a studio office down the block from here at
Okay.
368 Broadway.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I remember we were shipping Christmas stuff to the Zoomies team.
Yeah.
And I had my assistant come here to buy Laughing Man coffee. I
Oh,
swear to
really?
God.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's how loyal of a
That's
fan I
great.
am
I
to
love it.
Laughing
Thank
Man.
you. Well, thank
Great
you.
gift.
Yeah.
Anyone watching, you're looking for a good gift, you get some
Coffee is
Laughing Man
great.
coffee.
Thank you. Thank you for the plug. Um, so when did you start dabbling? As soon as you were skateboarding, you were filming for YouTube.
For the most part, like started the vlogs in like 2016.
Okay.
And then it just slowly evolved. Cause so I find out about 3PLs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I'm like, wait, I can be in Japan and operating this business. So got a one-way flight to Japan.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to get my clothing business distributed in Japan.
Okay.
So I actually did YouTube videos about this and documented this. So it's so cool to look back on.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And yeah, so went out there, was able to run the business from my computer as well as try and grow the business in Japan. So ended up traveling a lot
Right.
and kind of living this entrepreneurial life. But New York was always home and would still be able to like make videos back here.
Yeah. The YouTube as a business, when did you realize that was its own thing?
When I made my first $5,
Yeah.
I was like, this
How many
is
views do you have
incredible.
to make $5?
Like 5,000 views. So I was like, wow.
Right.
I guess the lights went off in my head of just like the potential. Cause I'm
Yeah.
just like, if I can do this every day, $5 a day, like I'm gonna be rich.
Right.
So
And this was all like your own film, your phone, you were doing all your
yeah, like a point and shoot
yeah,
camera. So I guess just like I just saw something was there. And I also really had a strong feeling that content was just gonna take over the world, which it did.
yeah, yeah.
Because again, this is 2016. A lot has changed in 9 years with
Absolutely.
content where
Yeah,
I used to get made fun of for starting my YouTube channel
right.
so much. A lot of the people that made fun of me are now like, hey, how
Yeah,
how
exactly.
do I start posting on YouTube?
It's like the internet geeks that used to be the internet geeks, and now everybody's like, "What'd you do? Can
Yeah,
I be your friend?" Yeah.
exactly. So started doing it in like 2016 as just little vlogs, and
Yeah.
then it's like kind of transpired into what it is now, which is still like the channel name is Brett Conti, my name, and
Right.
I kind of just take it as it's almost like this journal of stories throughout my life.
Right. Because 'Cause you've done different themes. You had the apartment theme for a
Yeah.
while, right? That and when you so tell me a little bit about that, and when you think about that, is that, a conscious choice, like, "Now I'm gonna see if this works, if people respond to it," or you just do something you happen to be interested in?
Yeah, so that's the thing that's tough where it's like a lot of people now who got into YouTube or Instagram social media are only looking at views. Like,
Okay.
what's working? What can I give more of?
Yeah.
And I think that's a recipe for disaster and burnout. Where for me, I try and keep it 50-50 where I'm like, I know I got to keep the lights on. I
Yeah.
need to feed the
And
beast. I
this
need to
works. This
grow.
thing works.
This
Yeah.
works. But it's kind of like this mentality of like one for them, one for me. Of
Yeah.
now maybe the next video is I don't really care about how many views this gets. I just really want to tell this story and make this piece of content
Yeah.
because it excites me. It would be nice if 100% of the videos are like that. But again, like sometimes you have to just know what works.
Right.
So I still do videos, whether it's about like apartment stuff that I know like my audience still loves.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the most part, it's kind of like what stories I think would be good for YouTube.
Right, right. And I wanna, one of the biggest ones is the tea, which I wanna get into, but just backtracking for a second, you said 2016 to now, things have changed a lot.
Mhm.
Sort of a little bit sort of in the weeds question, that world of content creation or YouTube, what's been that shift? And even where do you see it going? Like, what's the next trend or level of development that you sort of have to stay on top of?
Artificial intelligence.
Right, right.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing where I don't think it's gonna take away jobs necessarily in like the creator sphere, but it's gonna make it more saturated and I think a little bit harder in the future to get into it. Where right now I think it's an amazing, perfect time to get into content. Still a lot of opportunities and paths and lanes to fill voids because I don't know, there's still so much that hasn't been done yet, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
But in the future, I think AI is gonna change a lot, whether it's me having my own avatar that can create content without me ever doing
Right,
anything, which is a thing that's we're already at that level.
right, right.
It's just a matter of time before it takes off. The fact that I literally can make an avatar and have it say whatever I want, or
Yeah.
you can even ask me questions to my avatar that it knows my previous videos and how I think and can answer your questions.
Do you see that as is there any opportunity in that for sort of the creative self-expression, or do you see that as a path of pure monetization of that channel?
That does seem more like monetization,
Right.
and that's what kinda sucks about social media these days is that there's so much money to be made in it, which is kinda like the golden handcuffs of it that, like, for me, there's still so many videos I wanna make that maybe I won't make money from,
Yeah.
and I can only make them ever so often because there's so much money and opportunity getting thrown around to create more branded videos or maybe all these jobs I'd have to say no to
Yeah.
make those.
Yeah.
So I still do make time for them, but it does get hard when we're in an industry that is just brands are throwing money around
Yeah,
still.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, there's an aspect you gotta keep the lights on. Who was I think Rick Rubin, the producer, was saying, he never makes anything for the people. Everything he makes is for himself. And his view is if you do that, the people respond to it.
Yeah.
So there's an authenticity,
Yeah.
and I'd be interesting to see out of the stuff that you do that's not sort of intentional economics, you must find people respond to those things pretty well,
Yeah.
things that you just speak authentically about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like that's how you build like a true fan base community is
Right.
from like kind of making these videos that are more personal that maybe aren't meant to go viral,
Yeah.
but the things they'll do for your community is very like, I don't know, everlasting for sure.
Is it tough to put yourself out there, or was there like a point where you had to sort of break that seal and say, okay, now, or was that always, you were always an out there kind of guy?
I would say so just because I used to be even more like when I first started, I used to be like way more vulnerable
Okay.
on camera.
Yeah.
And again, like this is so new in the world that definitely used to get made fun of a lot.
Right.
And I used to not really care. At least I knew this was my purpose.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna stop doing this just because a couple people tease me about it. But I think that got me to knock down that wall very early on in my social media career was when I'm getting teased for it. I'm still doing it. I'm like being vulnerable on camera when no one else really is doing it, or at least compared to now.
Yeah.
And now in today's day and age in 2025, I feel like I don't even think about it anymore. I'm
Right.
so
Right.
used to
So
it. This is
used
just
to it.
how my
Yeah.
brain's wired. But
Yeah.
at least I know my guardrails of like what is personal, not meant for the camera, and what I don't mind sharing on the
You
camera.
don't mind sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't do like couple content or I don't know, stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I just know me now where what I don't mind sharing on the internet or not.
Do you have uh, I guess it's thinking about your brand. I mean, you're the content and you and the brand are one, right? So it's Brett Conti content.
Mm.
What space do you think you live in? If somebody said, "What's your?" I know what they ask you, "What's your genre?
Yeah, yeah.
What space do you operate in?"
I think it shifts. The most generic way to put it and generalize it is probably lifestyle, but I would say it's more about like the lifestyle of a world traveling entrepreneur who lives in New York City.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
Okay.
that's it in like one sentence.
Right. It's a pretty good place to be.
It's a good life. I
I
mean,
mean, do you ever look back? I mean, like, again, when I see the photos of where you are and sort of the different projects you're involved in, do you ever look back and say, well, like, how is this possible?
my dream was always how could I afford living in New York City
Yeah.
and not let it stop me from traveling?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't like rent out my place when I'm gone. So
Right.
it's like pretty expensive to be
Absolutely.
doing this. And yeah, no, it's a dream come true.
That's
Every time I'm like on some random island in the Philippines or something, I'm
right.
like, how is this my job? Like
And
this is
everywhere you
amazing.
go, you can film content there.
Yeah.
So you were just in Bali. Was that, and you spent some time there the
Yeah.
whole winter. Was that, was there anything deliberate in filming content there, or just that you were there, you're just going to create?
Yeah.
Or do you think about that? Like,
I thought about it a lot. Like I like strategized
yeah.
about what kind of content I can do that my current audience would like and a new audience. And like the first video we did was where I like compared the cost of living in New York City to Bali,
Right. Okay.
which obviously like did well. It's a very catchy thing to compare.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've been in the game for so long where my brain is trained to know what I want to create, but also what my audience would be
Yeah.
interested in.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of my audience is interested in New York.
Right.
They're interested in travel. So doing something like that.
Are most of your I mean, you have a pretty wide follower base, or is it sort of concentrated to New York, or?
Mostly New York.
It is, okay, it's
Yeah.
pretty high,
I would
local,
that's
cool.
100% my number one top city.
Love it, okay, great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. It's a good place to have an audience too.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, tell me about the tea company, the experiment, the project.
Yeah.
Lay it out for us, and
Yeah.
where it's at right now. I
Yeah.
thought this was pretty cool.
Thank you. I remember you were one of the first people I told about this idea
Yeah.
when we first
I
met.
remember. I
I
remember.
was like, I want to do this tea company. It's gonna be like colorful and bold
Yeah.
and crazy. think
And
I
to
even
document it, I'm gonna set a goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So went through with everything,
Yeah.
and we're amidst it right now.
But lay it out. Lay out,
Yeah.
what the concept was.
It still is, but
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
Sorry. Yeah,
it's changed a little bit,
Okay.
but the concept is I loved watching these startup shows on like Netflix or
Yeah.
like there was We Crash, it was called now
Right,
TV, or
Yep.
Super Pumped on Uber. So I was like, how can I bring that energy and storytelling to YouTube in real time about starting a business?
Yeah.
That's where it all started because I loved watching those shows. So I started thinking of businesses and how I could turn this into an exciting series that my audience would like and learn a lot from. So after making checklists, I landed on a wellness tea company,
Yeah.
and I
What were some of the other things on the list?
oh my gosh, there were some bad ones like Gatorade for
Right,
dogs,
I was gonna say dog collars. I knew there
dog
was gonna be
stuff.
a
Yeah, there
thing in
was
there. Yes.
like New York
love
City frozen pizza.
Right.
There was some type of like mirror with a reversible like whiteboard. Some weird ideas.
By the way, get here for dogs is actually pretty
Right?
nice.
They're running around.
Yeah.
So there was like a bunch of random
Yeah.
ideas. Then I landed on like the wellness tea and really believed in it.
But
And then I wanted to think of how I can turn how like Netflix turns these like super pumped into like a good story. Like what's the YouTube-ified version of that?
yeah, okay.
So I came up with building it in public, trying to go from 0 to $1 million in 1 year in
Yeah,
sales
in sales.
publicly. It's a whole lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But again, like I had to accept the fact that I could fail,
Right.
but I thought it would be
You
very
couldn't really, because even if you failed, the story doesn't fail.
right.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Exactly. But we are currently in the stage where we've announced the product, the brand, pre-orders that are shipping this month.
Okay.
So it's been delayed a lot
Got it.
just to do
It was about a year ago that we spoke, I think.
yeah,
Say.
and I didn't have like even the name or
Yeah.
anything like that. So it took a long time to do this. And like I didn't know how long it would take to work with a tea master to make
Right.
blends because we're not selling just straight up peach black tea or, vanilla green tea or anything
Yeah.
like that. It's more 6 to 8 ingredients in each blend from like our jumpstart tea has green tea, L-theanine, ginger,
Wow.
turmeric.
Yeah.
So all these things that we have to source from all around the globe into one blend and then package. it.
Wow. How many SKUs are there to begin with?
We're launching with 3.
Okay. That's
So
good.
it's been going really well so far. It's been well perceived. And obviously I have like a bit of a head start from having an audience.
Yeah, exactly.
But the goal is to turn this into a brand that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, no, for sure. But listen, I think it's powerful, especially if people like you, they know what you stand for. We very much would laugh at me. We have a good social media presence. We start a lot of things from that. And then I'm sure it'll expand beyond that.
Yeah.
How did you do the pre-sales?
Just online.
Like a
and-
Kickstarter thing or
No.
just announcing? Yeah.
All right. So the crazy thing about all this was I made a video announcing the tea company.
Yeah.
The next day I get an email from the head of Shopify influencer marketing team
Yeah.
saying how he wants to sponsor videos about it.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, set up a Shopify page. I was gonna use them anyway,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's nice now like to have my YouTube business be making money from my content about the tea business.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's such a crazy new world.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's a new world.
Yeah.
I don't know what our age difference is, but
Only a couple of years.
only a couple of years. But the fact that you could have that sort of cycle for that environment of products is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now we're just doing the pre-order still, but hopefully by the time this podcast is out, it is alive, it is shipping
Right.
and going around the world.
And you have your own podcast? You do your own podcast?
No,
No.
just like
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
And the YouTube.
Yeah.
And you're saying how many people are on your team right now?
There is about 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's-
So a lot of people wear a lot of hats, especially people are helping out with the tea company now.
Right.
So it's exciting. I love I think every human needs at least one thing that they're always looking forward to.
Yeah,
And for me, this is that one thing
I love it. I love it.
where it's what like gets me excited. It's what gets me up in the morning. And if you don't have something like that, you need to find something.
I was just talking to some friends the other day. We were talking about, I was saying how I hit a wall with the business a couple of years ago. I was like, where's it growing? What am I doing? This whole thing, you know? And now I'm having more fun than I ever have with the whole thing. And a lot of it has to do with, I can think of like 3 concrete projects that I'm excited to move forward. I don't know if they're going to succeed or not, but the fact that you know you have that lane somehow, like you said, puts a little kick in your step, makes it that much more enjoyable. So to have that project. What was the most, other than sort of the blending of the teas, what was the most surprising thing either you learned or came up against as far as the starting the tea?
I would say I was naive in the beginning, which I'm kind of glad I was, but when I thought about having these blends with like 6 to 8 ingredients,
Yeah.
it sounded a lot easier in my head than actually sourcing it from all over the world. Where like one of our recharge tea, which is like our sleepy time tea, has chamomile as its base. And our organic chamomile farm in Egypt like ran dry.
Right.
So I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I'm in like the agriculture
Yeah, yeah,
space
yeah.
now. Like I have to rely on the earth and everything,
Yeah, that's a good point.
which I didn't think of before. I just thought you could kind of make chamomile out of nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that set us back a couple weeks. So there's been all these things in the technicalities of tea that I've been learning.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of successful entrepreneurs, whether it's like Richard Branson or whoever, where they get to excel is when they go into an industry where they're not, maybe not masters in it, but they have a different spin than everyone else who has the textbook version
Yeah,
of it.
yeah,
Like, a
absolutely.
lot of the people who are in tea, let's say, are people that have dedicated maybe a lot of their life to it, know the ins and out of the business of it. But where I'm excited is that I know a decent amount about it, and I've spent a month and a half in India and Sri Lanka learning about it even more. But I have this new young approach to it,
Yep.
and that's what I'm trying to use as our competitive advantage.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the special thing I think about being an entrepreneur, just being able to work without a net in many areas like you do, sort of jump in and figure it out, not be afraid to do that.
Mm.
And like you said, they're not limited by historically what somebody's done in a particular field.
Totally.
But it's funny you say about the tea. I had the same thing with coffee. Not that I wasn't aware that it was, an organic product, but you just begin to see how connected you are and how dependent we are on all this whole supply chain,
Yeah.
and weather and a farmer and all of that.
Yeah. Because where do you guys get your coffee from?
Ethiopia, obviously, Colombia, Peru, Honduras, Mexico. We have single origins from Kenya and all over, But even like the tariffs that are happening now, we're getting now like you're part of a whole global connectedness,
Yeah.
which is cool. I mean, that's why, to the foundation we give back, and that's why we try to tell the story of the farmers because it sort of opens everybody up to and a product like this in a way how special it is and how lucky it is we get to have it. But how many amazing people along the way it takes
Yeah.
to bring you this cup.
Yeah. Have you ever gone out to any of your farms?
I've been to Colombia
Okay.
and Ethiopia.
Wow.
Yeah. I was about to go to Peru right before COVID hit, and I just haven't done it
Wow.
again. Ethiopia was phenomenal.
Mhm.
I don't know why, but I felt really at home there. It's a
Mm.
very special place. People
Yeah.
are amazing. Um, and these mountains they scale. I mean, these guys like scale mountains straight down.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. I've
That
been to some coffee farms, and it is insane how insane it is that they're, like, on the edge of these mountains
yeah.
picking the beans.
Well,
Wild.
yeah, and for and then you see the conditions they work under and the prices, and so again, I love being in the field because it has all these issues in it, and I think in general we're getting better taking care of them and stuff.
Yeah. What is the
Uh,
thing for you that you're most excited about?
right now in the business,
Yeah.
um, we have I would say the studio, right
Okay.
where we're in right now.
Yep.
Um, we're trying to bring the first part in the studio was part of it was a creative passion project, I think, to break out of that comfort zone.
Mhm.
And the other was just to bring the all be happy ethos to the airwaves, as it were. So our own content, producing for others, as a new path for us, which I think it could be great. I mean, the cafe's jumping. it's a conversation, it's a meeting place, it's everything a cafe is supposed to be. So trying to take that energy and bring it the podcast or the film
Yeah,
or whatever. And so again, seeing where it leads,
totally.
What's bringing you the most joy right now?
I think the tea company, which it's also bringing me the most stress right
Yeah.
now just because we were supposed to launch a couple months ago and there's just been so many setbacks. But the fact that I'm gonna be able to have this as like a real-time MBA is what I'm like
Right.
calling it to myself
Yeah.
with real money.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm most excited about because I'm gonna be able to have my audience learn my failures and my wins with me.
Yeah.
So that's what I think I'm the most excited about. That like I love business for the fact that it's like something you get to be creative in and you get to learn and you get to push yourself on your limits. So the fact that I'll be able to do this business in real time and my audience can learn from it is the thing that I get the most excited about.
Do you see a follow-up at all? Not necessarily another business, but sort of taking whatever that education is and then breaking it out a little bit?
Into like
And more content or like it's interesting to think of here is an MBA program. It's like a case study.
yeah,
So you could sort of take that out and break it up just for more segments of content.
yeah.
That would be educational.
Yeah, no, I agree. Spinning off of that, when I came up with this idea, I remember I wrote down my goal with this would be to do something that's so impactful that Harvard Business School does a
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
article
Okay,
on it.
cool.
So for me, yeah, like I want to do more around the content of starting this
Yeah,
business.
yeah.
And again, like even getting stopped on the streets in New York, it's so cool how people have been coming up and being like, "I'm so
And
fired
they
up
and
about
they
the tea
know?
project." Yeah,
That's funny.
about it's called Belief.
Yeah.
It's spelled Beleaf.
Okay.
So yeah, it's so awesome to like have people come up and be like, "Oh, I pre-ordered Belief," or went to a restaurant and the waiter was like, "Oh, I pre-ordered
No.
Belief." So
Is that weird to get recognized?
that's been happening to me since like 2017.
Oh,
So
really?
not anymore.
Because of the skateboarding.
At this point, 2018, I was full on lifestyle.
Okay, got it.
2016, 2017 was skateboarding,
Got it, okay.
and then it spun all lifestyle.
Right, right.
Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah,
To be recognized in New York, that's pretty cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I again, like it's been so long that
yeah.
I'm used to it, but I I guess it still is weird.
Right, right, right.
Like, I definitely, like, will leave meeting someone on the street and be like, "Huh,
Huh.
like, so weird that they know, like, my niece Amelia and, like, whatever," but
That's right. I
hey
mean, that's the strange thing. That's the balance of
yeah,
being transparent
yeah,
because they have to connect with you and know you
yeah.
and feel some relationship. But I'd also be like, my niece's name and rest.
Yeah,
That'd be a weird balance.
it is a little weird, so
Which I feel is also not very, although I think New Yorkers are super friendly, it's also not very New York. New York is also like, you know, again, I think they're friendly, but also mind your own business.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely, like, the more, like, super fan or, like,
Yeah.
whether it's someone from out of town visiting, but, yeah, I would say the most typical New York interaction is me on my bike down the street and someone be like, "Yo, Brett,"
That's
and that's,
cool.
like,
That's
all they
cool.
care for, but speaking of that, and even how we were talking
Yeah.
before about content and the future of it,
Yeah.
I do think, like, for anyone who is, like, trying to get into content creation is to think of it as building a relationship,
Yeah.
and it's like whether you're going on a date with someone, it's the same thing with content where you should be talking about yourself, your interests, and kinda being vulnerable because that's how you grow a better connection.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
the same thing whether it's with a real person or with an online audience.
Yeah.
It's those same principles to grow a deeper connection, and
Yeah.
I think that's why it's weird that, yeah, a random person will know so much about my life, but it's
But it's what you want. It makes sense. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
you feel connected to someone if you
Yeah.
do know more about their life, what their job was before and how they hated it and now they do this or
Yeah.
they love this or this is their favorite food. It's kinda like how you create a bigger personal brand.
Yeah. Yeah. I take the view as similar to what you're saying. I just use the word hospitality. I say
Mhm.
everybody's in the hospitality business, right? You're welcoming people into your life, into your home, into your personality. Um, and it's all about developing that relationship. Engagement with your fans, right? I don't know. Do you get like snarky comments? You must get all sorts of comments. No.
Get
Is it
all
pretty,
sorts of comments.
do you care? Do you read them? Do you?
My rule is
Yeah.
sometimes if I'm like feeling fired up that day, I'll respond back and like
Right.
so rarely,
Yeah.
like once a year, maybe I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put this person in their place
Yeah. Yeah.
if they said something like really messed up. But For the most part, it doesn't
Doesn't
get to
happen.
me, but if it does, I'll write something out as a response and then just delete it.
Right.
And I'll probably delete their comments.
Yeah, yeah, you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, it's something that at first it'll probably get to you, and I think it is one of the barriers to entry for people who are getting into content where they'll get their first couple negative comments or people making fun of the way they look or the way they
Right,
talk, and
right.
then it discourages them to keep going. Where if you can get past that, then it just gets easier.
You probably have to be, yeah, you gotta have sort of mental
Yeah.
toughness.
There's no way that comments have taken away more than like 2 minutes a year of my happiness.
Right. Oh,
You know,
good. Good.
there's probably like a couple comments where I'm
Yeah.
like, damn, that one hurt. Or
Do
like,
you find yourself a pretty naturally balanced guy in that way, or is there stuff you do to take care of yourself in this world you live in, something that you sort of have your practice or a ritual that grounds you in some way?
yeah, I mean, I know we're both into the like meditation
Yeah,
and
yeah.
even like more psychology type stuff where I had to figure out a way to separate the internet worlds with real life worlds.
Right.
Where at first I was just in the internet worlds. My whole life was consumed by it, spending so much time by it. I just lived by it. And then I realized I needed to have separation. So I feel like I can check out of the Matrix, or what is it, Severance, like the innie and the
Yes,
outie. Like I feel like
exactly right.
I'm now forgetting about that whole entire life
Yeah.
in my outie.
How do you do that though?
It was more just practice and like, our mind is so powerful. So I think just like knowing when I need to check out, also like focusing on other hobbies. Like I try and spend at least 2 hours a day on personal Brett stuff that has nothing to do with monetary gain.
Yeah.
Cause I got to a place where I felt like everything I wanted to do had to lead to money. And that's okay for some people. But for me, I realized I couldn't have that, especially with social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Sure, it's a slippery slope,
it's a
right?
very
Yeah.
slippery slope. So for me, I need at least 2 hours a day
Yeah.
where I'm doing something I love. So whether it's playing basketball, I run every single day. Whether it's going for a walk, skateboarding still,
Yeah.
whatever it is, or when I was just in Bali, I was surfing a lot. So at least 2 hours a day I need just for my
Yeah,
happiness.
yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's interesting to think about sort of traditional art worlds. Let's say you're a painter, right? So you're hoping people catch on to your vibe, and then like this set makes money,
Mhm.
right? Then there's probably the stuff you want to express on your own. There's something in your world though that seems like it's all so when you're basically sort of in a way just documenting your life in a way,
Mhm.
it seems so intertwined that line can get pretty blurry. Because
Yeah.
part of it is your self-expression that you're just making this video because you enjoy it. And then, like we said, the other one is, I know my fans will like this.
Mhm.
So it seems more complicated
Mhm.
I would say in new media.
Yeah, especially if you are doing lifestyle content.
Yeah.
If I was doing something specific, like, it's a lot healthier where maybe you're doing just content about Laughing Man,
Right.
where you know where you can check in and out.
Yeah, exactly.
Where when you're doing lifestyle stuff, there is no checking in and out. Everything's like, "Oh, this could be content. This could be a good story. This could be a good post," or
Right.
"I should be filming a YouTube video about this." So that took years to figure out how to separate in
Yeah.
my mind
Yeah.
of, like, not thinking at all about social media right now, which is not easy. So
Yeah.
for a lot of new creators since probably since COVID, there's been this explosion of creators. I do wonder how people are gonna, like, fight all of these, like, mental distractions and the negative things that happened mentally
Yeah.
with social media as a
Yeah.
creator.
Yeah. If you weren't doing YouTube, what would you be doing? You weren't a content creator. You consider yourself an influencer? Sometimes I say that
Yeah.
word and people are like, but do you consider yourself
That's what I, like, put on my, like, tax statement.
But so if you weren't doing that, what if there was no YouTube, what would you be doing?
So I do strongly firmly believe this, where even if I, like, sold my tea company for $1 billion, I love making videos so
Yeah.
much that I know for a fact I would still be making YouTube videos.
And that's
But
probably the reason why you should be doing it then.
right.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's
Right.
my calling, I couldn't live without it.
Yeah, yeah.
I love making videos so much. But as far as for work, definitely entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I always knew that too. Like when my mom and dad would ask me when I was a little kid what I wanted to be when I was older, I would say a professional Brett,
Right,
which
nice.
was just being a wise ass, but it's probably the best way to describe
That's
what
what
being
you
like
ended up being,
a
dude.
lifestyle YouTuber
Get
is.
that sound down. That's what happened. That's really funny.
Yeah, so
Um,
entrepreneur, because I love the freedom. I love working for
yeah,
myself. I feel like I love, I guess, being a leader
yeah,
too,
yeah,
and getting to build trust with my team and getting to work on a big project and, kind of be the leader to that.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. I'm mindful of your time, but I got one more question. Sort of an in the weeds business question. Different mediums, uh, books. Let's say, would you ever write a book? I feel like there's a social media book to be written or an MBA lessons I've learned book.
I would. I don't know if you feel this way, but I definitely have imposter syndrome
Yeah.
where I'm always like, "Oh, when I'm done working on this project, I'll do that because like, I don't feel like I'm ready yet."
Right.
But then
Okay.
when I hit that milestone, I'm
Yeah.
still like, "Oh, no, no, I'm not ready yet to do
Yeah.
something like that." Like, so book, I would love to one
Yeah.
day, but maybe my body's just telling me like, "Ah, not yet. You have more in the story
Could be.
still."
Yeah. But I also wonder, even for somebody in your work, what does a book even do? Meaning,
Everything's already like on the
it's
internet,
already
but
there, or not even that. Meaning, like, let's say you wanted to do a mini MBA course.
yeah.
Why write a book as why would you use that medium instead of just do it on YouTube?
Yep.
Um, so I'm just curious, how people think it because, a chef, let's say, a chef writes a cookbook, right? I guess people want to hold it and take the thing. Um, might not be worth your time to do the book, right?
Yeah, if maybe I'll get to a point where, like, it seems like I need to do
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but as of right now, yeah, I'd rather just make a video.
Right, right. Exactly, exactly. Well, that's great. Brad, this was awesome, man.
Yeah,
You live a crazy life, but it's great. You carved out an amazing niche for yourself. I'm really happy for you.
thank you. Appreciate all
Sounds
the help.
great. And keep me posted on the tea. That's
Yes, maybe we'll do, like, some type of
Let's
collab
collab. I
there
love it.
at Laughing Man.
I love it. Let's do it. Great, man. Thank you. It was awesome. Yeah.
Thank you, David.